Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning a classical piece on ukulele, which is called Lagrima. So, as you guys heard, this is a beautiful song, an absolutely beautiful melody. Well, there's actually two melodies. So let's actually talk about that real quick. This is a really simple form. It's an A-B form. So in the performance, I did a condensed version. I went A, B, A. But if you want to extend the piece and play it as it was intended, then you can go A, B, B, A. Now, with this song, you probably guessed that it is for the advanced player. There are some tricky elements to it. Most notably is the chord shapes. So we have a lot of second and pinky finger, especially this one, pinky finger action going on. And what makes it hard is that in the A melody specifically, it goes up higher on the neck and it has a bit of a finger frenzy with some of these chord shapes that you're going to have to be going to. So we're going to be breaking down everything step by step, and I spent a lot of time thinking about what is the best fingering to use to tackle something that's tricky like this. So we're going to be breaking it down step by step, super slow, and making sure that you get it down to sound awesome. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the lesson. So I've got this lesson split into two parts. So this video is going to be the part one lesson. We're going to learn the entire A melody. Now, if you want to learn the B melody, that's going to be taught in the part two lesson. So you can click this link or go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Lagrima. Now, also on that page, you'll be able to get the tabs that you can print off and follow along with as a PDF format, as well as access the on-screen tab viewer. Now, this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset for tackling a tricky song like this that much easier. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump into this tune. We're kicking off with melody A. Now, melody A is only 8 bars in length, and melody B is also 8 bars in length. Now, with that said, it sounds like a tiny little bit of music to learn, but there's a lot encompassed within those 8 bars. So let's go ahead and start with just the first part. I'm going to play the first 2 bars, and I want you to watch the fingering that I'm using. I'm going to give you 2 options, but this fingering that I use, second and fourth, I'd highly encourage you to give it a shot. And the reason why we'll talk about in just a second. Okay, so let me play the first couple bars and then we'll break it down. These first 2 bars, they're really, really simple. And then the next 2 bars are, the phone is always recording ringing when I'm trying to record. Okay, these first 2 bars, they get repeated for bar 3 and 4. So this is the easy part. When we get into bar 5 and 6, that's where it gets really, really tricky. So here's the first couple bars. Sounds like this. If I play it again, it's the same for bar 3 and 4. So the first thing you can hear is that the rhythm is all consistent. It's just eighth notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. So there's the first clue too. This song is in 3/4, so we want to make sure we're counting 1, 2, 3, next measure, 1, 2, 3, next measure, and so forth. But pretty simple rhythm and keeping it in 3/4. So here's the fingering that I suggest. Let's learn these first few chords. The first one's going to be playing out of an A. Now, it's not your typical stock A chord. It's going to be a variation on that. So take the middle finger, put it on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then take your pinky, put it on the 4th fret of the 1st string. Now, the trick with this first chord and all of these chords that we're playing is that we want to only have 3 out of the 4 strings ringing out. So we want to have 4th and 1st and 2nd. 2nd is going to be an open. Okay, so with the 3rd string, we actually want to mute it. And the way to mute these strings is to not be directly on a fingertip, right? So if I'm directly on the fingertip, that C string rings open. But if I take that fingertip and I move my hand down this way, it's going to lightly touch this part, this little middle section of the middle finger. It's going to lightly touch that, and it's going to mute it. So the thing with the C major chord is that we have a C sharp in that chord. Hence, the reason that we want to mute that third string. If we hit the third string on accident, ooh, it sounds bad, right? So if I mute it, if I hit it on accident, you don't hear it. So we don't hear that awful sound, okay? So that's the trick with this whole walk-up section. This whole time I'm walking up, that third string is muted in case I accidentally hit it. Because the key with these songs, guys, is when you get it learned and you go into performance ready mode, always treat it like you're playing for somebody. If you make a mistake, just keep playing through it. Don't stop and start again. That's how people know you make mistake. And everybody makes mistakes too. Like, I make them all the time. So it took me a few takes to get the performance down. So, don't feel like everything that we do is perfect either. Anyways, so the first shape, we have second and fourth. We're going to consider this shape number 1. Now, shape number 2 is going to be going up a half step with the pinky and up a whole step with the middle finger. So now you're on 4 and 5. Okay, so this one, again, we want to have the open E as well ringing out. So this is our E7. Okay, now consider this shape number 2. So you can see shape number 1 is a whole step apart, right? Shape number 2 is a half step apart, right? These two fingers. So whole step apart, half step apart. Shape number 2, move it up one whole step. So it goes to 6 and 7. And there is our third chord. So C sharp minor. Now, all we're going to do is go back to the first one, A. We're going to pluck 4 and 1, and then the open E. Go up to shape number 2, which was E7, pluck 4 and 1, then the open E. Go up a whole step, keep it in shape number 2, pluck again 4 and 1, and then string 2 open. That's it. And we know it's all eighths, so we have 1 and 2 and 3 and it's literally that simple. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now the key with playing this is that you want to have it ringing in, or how do you say, sustaining. You want to have it sustaining throughout, so everything rings into the next note. That's what creates such a beautiful sound for this piece. Right? It has such a pretty sustain. So make sure that when you're playing this, you keep your fingers held down for the entire duration of the note value. Right? So we don't want to lift up prematurely like that, where it just sounds kind of staccato-y. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention too with melody A, this song has two keys. Melody A is in A major, but melody B is in A minor. It goes to the parallel minor. So you want to be thinking about how you're playing this first melody. Melody A has such a pretty sound to it. Right? And then the first part of melody B, you can hear the difference in the tonality. It's got a minor. Right? It sounds more, it's got more energy, more like drive to it. So you want to think about that as you're playing this piece too. So melody A should be soft and sweet, and melody B should be driven harder to get that sad or somber tonality across. Now, let's see if we can try the first bar together. Pretty simple. Here we go. 1, 2, go. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, from here, take this shape, go down all the way to the beginning of the neck. So you're still in shape number 2, right? So first fret, second fret. Now, this is an easy chord we've done a million times, but you've probably not used these fingers. Take the ring finger, add it to the second fret of string 3. Okay, so here we can't do that touching of the third string. We have to pivot it up more so it's on a fingertip so we can get that last one in. Okay? This chord we all know and love, E7. Now we've always done it with this fingering. We're going to talk about that in a second, but again, I want you to try to use this fingering for now. Okay? So practice going from that last chord, this C sharp minor, all the way down to the beginning of the neck, and then add the ring finger, becomes an E7. Now this second bar sounds like this. So it's still the same eighth note rhythm, but we have a little bit of a different picking pattern. We're going to hit 4 and 1 together, open E, then the third string, second string, fourth string, second string. So together, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. So memorize that picking pattern, and let's try it together. 2 and 3 and. Awesome. Now, if I put those first couple bars together, it sounds like this. Let's try it at that speed. It's nice and slow. 2 and 3 and. Beautiful. We already know bar 3 and 4 is the same, so you're just going to double exactly what you played, and you're going to play everything again. Okay? Now let's talk about the alternate fingerings. Now you can use, and I think the intuitive choice or the obvious choice is to use the first and the ring finger. Right? And then there's our basic E7 standard fingering. Here's the problem with that fingering, is that when you go to the hard bar, so I said 5 and 6 is where this piece gets pretty challenging. When you go to that measures, you're going to have to use you're going to have to use the second and the fourth fingering. I've tried the first and the third, but the problem is that there's so much finger frenzy happening in this section. Right? So look at that. Second, first, pinky, second, pinky, and then we have to stick the ring underneath it, and then we have first, second, pinky. So it's too hard to go from, like, you have to flip-flop in the middle of transitioning all the way up the neck. But if you use the fingering that I suggest, you're just literally going to move that shape up for bar 5. And you see how much easier that is. So you don't have to do this flip-flop as you move up. You just literally move up, and it helps to keep the sustain flowing. It also helps as you increase the tempo of the performance piece. So when you get it practiced and you bump the tempo, it's not a fast song, but it's a little bit of a brisk pace. It's going to be so much easier. It's a lot more efficient. So I would encourage you to use the fingering of 2 and 4. But again, it's up to you. The other way is easier. It definitely is easier, but I'd highly encourage you to use 2 and 4. All right, so we now know that bars 1 and 2 is the same as 3 and 4. So let's just cycle through that 1 through 4. Here we go. Nice and slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and. All right, from here, you're going to lift that ring finger up. You're going to move these fingerings all the way up to 11 and 12. So you're still in shape 2, okay? So keep that in mind, 11 and 12, half step apart. So with this, we're going to be adding 1 extra finger down. It's going to be our index finger on the 9th fret of string 3. Now, here's the thing with this chord. So this is an F sharp minor. This chord is going to have kind of a bit of an accented hit. Instead of plucking in unison, I want you to pluck with the thumb first and then the ring finger. So you're going string 4, string 1, da-da. Instead of unison, da. You're gonna go, right? So it just gives it a little variation. It's kind of like putting sprinkles on ice cream. Ice cream rocks already, but you put a sprinkle on, you have a little bit of characteristic to it. Okay, so just ba-da, just try that, and then you're going to play string 3 with the index finger on 9. Let me play this measure 5 for you, and then we'll break it down This is going to be hard, so we'll go slow. Alright, so we can hear that it's a bit of a finger frenzy. Or see that it's a bit of a finger frenzy. It's a beautiful walk down. So again, 11 and 12, shape 2. We're going to do the little 4 and then 1 approach. And then you're going to hit string 3. And you can see rhythmically wise, staying with eighth notes. So that does make it easier. All right, so when you get comfortable with this, lift the index finger up. You're going to go down a whole step with the middle finger and down a half step with the pinky finger. And now you can see that we're in shape 1, right? A whole step apart between these two fingers. Okay, so we have 9 and 11, and you're going to pluck in unison. Here's the hard part. This is the kicker. Take that ring finger, put it underneath the middle finger. So it's going to be on 9 on string 3. You're going to hit just that note. So I have 9, 9, pinky on 11. So here's the other thing we're starting to notice. This time around, we're ignoring one string. So we're still playing 3 strings, but now we're ignoring string number 2, okay? So keep that in mind. There's no real trick about muting so much for this. Just try and get the accuracy of the right hand plucking to not hit that string. Okay, so going back, let's repeat. So we're starting out with shape number 2, 11 and 12. We have the staggered hit. Then add the index to 9 on string 3. Lift the index up. We're going to go down a whole step with the middle, half step with the pinky. So now we're on 9 and 11. Unison pluck. Take that ring, squash it underneath the middle finger. So it's 9 on string 3. Okay, so you probably want to just hit pause right here in this video and practice that. This is one of the hardest transitions. What makes it difficult too is that the frets, as you go up on this ukulele, or every ukulele, they get smaller, so you can see how big that fret is versus here. So that's another thing. If you're playing a tenor uke, this will be a bit easier because the frets are a little bit wider. All right, so let's go ahead and tackle the last chord. So let's look at where we left off, A major 7. So with this, we're going to lift the ring finger up. We don't need it anymore. And what we're going to be doing instead is we're going to be lifting the middle finger up, putting the index on 7 on string 4, and sliding down with the pinky to 9 on string 1. Okay, so this time around, you just want to start one thing at a time. Lift the ring finger up, the middle finger lifts up as well, goes to 7 with the index, and the pinky slides down to 9. Okay, so this is breaking our shape 1 and shape 2. This is a new shape for us. Now, the other thing that you want to do is you have one extra note that you want to go ahead and add onto. It's going to be the 7th fret of string 2. So this one does add the 2nd string. So I think I mentioned earlier that we were ignoring string 2. I don't know if I said it for the entire bar. If I did, that was my mistake. We're only ignoring string 2 for the first 2 chords. So we do have to play string 2 for this last chord shape, which is a G major 7. Okay, so the shape that we're playing is first finger on 7 string 4, middle finger on 7 string 2, pinky on 9 string 1. And we're going to be plucking 4 and 1, and then string 2. So going back to everything, what you have is shape number 2, staggered hit, then 9 on string 3, going down a whole step and a half step. Then we're going to pluck. This is shape number 1. Pluck in unison. Squash the ring finger underneath, 9 on string 3. And then we have a new shape. So we're going to lift the ring finger up, lift the middle finger up, put 7 on string 4. Pinky slides down to 9. You're going to pluck 4 and 1, and then add the middle finger to 7 on string 2. So this, again, is where you just want to hit pause and work on this little section. It is tricky. But once you get that movement memorized, you get these chord shapes down, it becomes a lot easier to play, and it helps too that the rhythm is consistently eighth notes, so simple rhythm. So you can focus more so on the left hand. So let's see if we can try that together. We'll go really slow. Again, hit pause, practice, get it memorized first before you try play along with me. Here we go. 2 and 3 and. Okay, so that again is just a bar that you want to practice a lot, and keep in mind the sustain thing. So hold each note out for entire duration of its length. Now going into bar 6 is also hard. I think it's a little bit easier than 5, but here's what it sounds like. Okay, one more time. Let's go ahead and break it down. So the first thing we want to do is start where we left off. We left off on that G major 7. So the thing with this is that we want to literally lift all these fingers up, and we're kind of like inverting this chord. So you're going to lift all these fingers up, take that ring, put it on 9 on string 4, take the index, put it on 7 on string 1, and then we have one extra finger to add down, which is going to be the pinky on 9 string 2. Okay, so I have 9, pinky on 9 string 2, index on 7 string 1. So I'm plucking 4 and 1 and then string 2. Okay, so pluck, string 2. Again, the thing that you want to work on is that transition. So literally just hit pause and practice looping that little transition. 3 and 1 and that's going to be the hardest part, is these little transitions from one chord to the next chord. Now, going back into this, so here's the other thing that gets a little bit hard with this. We're going to be shifting the chord up. So we only have one extra chord in this measure. So go back to the C sharp minor 1 right here. What I want you to do is I want you to lift pinky and index finger up. What you're going to do is you're going to move the ring finger only up a whole step. So it's going to play 11 on string 4. You're going to play the open A, take the pinky, put it underneath it, play 11 on string 3, and then take the middle finger, put it on 10, string 2. Okay, so we have 3rd, 4th, 2nd. This is probably a shape that's familiar, just a stock major chord shape. So with this, the order of plucking again is going to be 4, 1, 3, 2. Okay, so if we backtrack, we have okay, that was starting on the last chord of the previous measure. So let's see if we can try just that transition. So let's actually start on C sharp minor 1. So again, I have 3rd and 1st finger, so 9, 7. I'm going to pluck those, add the pinky to 9 on string 2. Then I'm going to lift these 2 fingers up. I'm going to slide up a whole step to 11 with my ring, play that note, play the open A, take the pinky, add it underneath, and then the middle finger. So we don't have to go into this chord shape. You're adding one finger at a time when the music calls for it, right? So that basically means I'm not doing that. I'm going, right? Adding one finger when it's needed in the music. So that makes things easier to play. Keep that in mind too. You're going to be adding the finger when it's needed. And that really applies for all of this. These 2 bars. You don't have to make the entire ba ba, right? I'm going together and then adding the index. Together, then adding the ring. Together, then adding the middle finger. Together, then adding the pinky, right? So you see I'm not making the full 3-finger chord shape. I'm doing what's needed at the time it's needed. That makes transitions for this stuff possible. Like it's extremely difficult if you're trying to do everything in unison. It's not these basic chords where everything is super easy. So keep that in mind too. Let's see if we can try just measure 6 by itself, and then we'll backtrack and do 5 and 6. So here we go. 6 by itself, super slow. 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and Okay, one time without calling it out. Here we go. 2 and 3 and. Okay, backtrack 5 to 6. 2 and 3 and. Beautiful. So you've done the hardest part of the song. So, we spent a lot of time on that, but it is the hardest part of the tune. No doubt about that. The next section gets a lot easier, so that's a good thing. So I'm going to tune up real quick, make sure I'm in tune, and then we'll jump into 7 and 8, and that'll finish up melody A. Okay, so here is the last couple bars, and I'm just going to play them together, and then we'll break it down. This is like a walk in the park compared to what we just tackled. So here's what it sounds like. Just a very beautiful ending. So let's learn the first few chords that we're doing. They're all chords that we've played before, so they're very, very easy. Make that a stock G chord. Move it up a whole step. It becomes an A. Now, if you're new to that concept of moving chords that you know up the neck till they become other chords, then check out the caged method. It's a really, really cool method that allows you to break away from only playing in the beginning of the neck. One of the benefits that you get is, for example, if you go to a jam and everyone's playing a C chord, you can play it up here and create a beautiful higher voiced harmony. So you don't have to play everything identical to everybody else. All right, so back to this. Make the A chord. We're going to pluck just 3 and 1 together, and then string 2. From here, we're going to a B, and for this, we're going to lay flats a partial bar on 2nd fret, string 1 and 2, and then take that middle finger, put it on the 3rd fret of string 3. So this time, we're going to pluck 3 and 2, and then string 1. So I have, okay, so you're plucking 3 and 1, and then 3 and 2. Okay, rhythm, consistent, all eighths. 1 and 2 and. From here, lift up, play the open E, and then we're going to go 2nd fret and 4th fret. So 2nd fret string 3, 4th fret string 2. This gives us the tritone of a dominant chord, which begs us to resolve. Okay, so you have 2 and 4, and then we're just going to go down a half step with the index finger to the 1st fret of string 3 and the open A. So again, just that measure by itself starts with an A, string 2, to a B, strings 3 and 2, and then string 1, open E, then 2, 4, and then to an A. And we're going to finish it up with that stock A chord. Okay? So pretty simple way to end this tune. Let's see if we can try it together. So we have 2 and 3 and. Okay? So again, that A is just string 3 and 1, and then end on the root. And you can add a rest after that hit. So the rhythm changes for that last bar. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, rest. Right, so it goes into quarter notes. So keep that in mind too. Now you can add a retardando if you want as well to this section. I would start it on that B chord if you want to add it. Up to you if you do or don't. All music is always up to the interpreter. You. So let's go ahead and try those 2 bars together one more time, and then we'll just recap everything and wrap this lesson up. So these 2 bars together, 2 and 3 and. Nice. Now, I think what we'll do is I'll just play through 1 through 8. If you have it down, you can join me. This is 5 and 6 is the one that's just going to take a lot of practice. But when you get it all down, and I'll play nice and slow, it'll sound a little bit like this. Right, so aim for something like that. Don't worry too much about, stylistic and getting a lot of feel. Focus at first on just getting the muscle memory of the chord transitions down, keeping the sustain going, and then you can start to focus a little bit more on how you're playing it. So, earlier I talked about the A melody should have this soft, beautiful feel to it, and that's going to be contrasted in the B melody because the B melody changes tonality to minor, and that's where we're going to be picking up with in the part 2 lesson. So if you guys want to learn the second half of this tune, you can do so by clicking this link right here or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Lagrima. Don't forget too that the tabs are there that you can print off, keep for your records, as well as that really cool interactive on-screen tab player, so you can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will see you in the part 2 one. So see you there, and take care.